Welcome back, everyone. Today is October 8th. Today's topic will be about avoiding the unhappy, avoiding the unlucky. But to clarify, it is about why you should avoid people who complain. So I'm sure, going through life, we've all encountered people who tend to have a more negative, pessimistic view of life. People who, tend to be whiny, complainy. They're always coming up with excuses and reasons for why things aren't working out, or people who are just, nonstop while they're doing something. They always have something to complain about. You want to avoid these people as much as you can. And I'm going to reference a bit of Robert Greene's work, 48 Laws of Power, which is a video that I've already done in the past. Robert, he talks about why you want to avoid these people, but I'm going to talk about, my own experience, and particularly recently where a couple friends and we went on a hike together. And during the hike, there was a moment where my friends and I were passing some couple, and personally, I like kind of engaging in a bit of banter with people on the trail and, sharing a joke and whatnot. But one of the individuals in the couple, we were going back and forth, kind of exchanging banter, and it was a tough part of the trail. So, we basically were talking about, just the steep incline, and it was challenging, and, it was all fun and games for, maybe the first two exchanges. But then after that, I noticed that this individual just kept kind of adding more and more and more to it, even, when I wasn't trying to add myself. And the thing about complainers is that as people complain, whether it's yourself in your own mind, the things you start telling yourself, like, oh, I can't do it, this is too hard, this is too much, really tends to impact your physical output as well. Especially if we're talking about sports, physical activity, things that are physically challenging. What I noticed was that as this person continued to complain, all of a sudden the same hike that I was doing, the same little bit of small steps that I was taking were just becoming more and more exhausting. And so immediately, it became important to kind of like quickly get ahead of this person, get away from them, put as much space in between, because the hike that my friends and I had planned on, we still had a lot of distance to go. And towards the end of the hike, like, it got pretty rough. It was a lot of snow, very windy, very chilly, and it was challenging. That's just one example of, like, being around people who are complaining, who are whiny, who are kind of, they're just low mood, low state people, and you want to avoid them because these states are super contagious. John Maxwell also writes about, poor attitudes, rotten attitudes, and how they impact a team. And although these are two slightly different things, it's the common denominator is that you don't really want to be around people who are super negative. Debbie Downers, we call them, whatever other names there are, but you ideally want to surround yourself with kind of either more positive people who are more optimistic, or people who are realistic. You don't want to be around people who are complaining and then also do nothing. And I'm not trying to say that, you can't admit that something is challenging, that it's maybe too difficult, and, maybe you have to change course. It's not about being stubborn, being an idiot, being kind of like just too stuck on one particular path. It's more about that sometimes in life, you're just going to have to be on a path, and you're going to have to, tough it out, grind it out. You're just going to have to keep going because that is the path forward. In situations like that, like, you don't want to be around people who are complaining. So knowing that my friends and I are going to go on this hike and we are trying to summit the mountain, being around someone who's complaining like super early into the hike, this is probably in the first third of the hike, not good for morale, right? It's going to make me feel more exhausted. It's going to make me feel like, there's a waste of time, that this was a bad idea. And so ideally, you just get rid of those people, right? You just don't spend time around those people because they're going to weigh you down. They're like a parachute behind you. Whether you work with them, whether you train with them, whether they're your friend or your partner, you just leave these people behind. What tends to happen is that, oftentimes these people perhaps are unaware of their complaining, of their negativity, or incapable of changing it. And so, you could try to spend time in your life, spend some months, spend some years trying to help these people to readjust their mindset. But as Robert Greene says, honestly, it's better to just avoid them, right? To not spend time with these people, because they're going to carry you down with their own problems, with their own issues, with their own like bad luck and their own negativity, right? It's very contagious. I've seen it myself on, teams that I've coached, teams that I've been around where someone's complaining, they're whining, it's like, oh, this is too hard, they're giving up. People start looking at that like, oh, well, I'll give up too. This person's already given up. And then next thing you know, like your whole team's not working. You really want to avoid people who just complain all the time. And you want to really manage, if we're going back to external versus internal, you really want to manage your own complaints as well. So even today, I was in a fitness center and I'm doing, an exercise for my biceps. And I noticed that, like around rep, I don't know, 8, I'm getting tired. I'm thinking to myself that, oh, I can't do it. Immediately I expel those thoughts and say, no, you're going to keep going. And instead of, maybe stopping at rep 12 or 14, I did all 20 reps that I needed to do. So first step is, make sure you're aware of yourself. Make sure you're not the person who's complaining, the Debbie Downer, the negative person. And then 2, take sort of like an account of the people in your life and ask yourself, like, who am I around who just tends to complain, be negative, and just, consistently just have just really bad takes and really bad negative energy that brings people down, and you want to really avoid those people. And honestly, that's probably the best advice I have on that topic. It can be really hard, but you got to understand that, generally speaking, these people are just toxic and you just don't want to be around them. That's it for today. This is going to be a quick one. It's October 8th. I'm feeling pretty run down from jiu-jitsu and work and trying to make these videos. It takes me about 2 hours to edit. So this one's going to be short and sweet. Avoid people who are complaining all the time, who are negative, who just have this pessimistic, low state worldview. You just don't want to be around them because they're going to start bringing you down. Okay, let me know your own experience in the comments of dealing with people who are always negative, toxic. Feel free to comment. I'll probably get to your replies, okay? Thank you. Enjoy. Take care.